What if I told you that in today's market, you could still buy a house in Texas for less than the price of a used car? Sounds unrealistic, right? But here's the reality: deals like these exist quietly sitting on the market, while most people scroll right past them. In this video, we're breaking down 5 of the most affordable properties in Texas, but these aren't just cheap houses. Some are hidden renovation gems. Some sit on surprisingly large lots, and one of them might be the most overlooked opportunity on the entire list. But here's where it gets interesting. Backhand index pointing right, the number 1 property is priced so low and offers so much potential that it almost doesn't make sense. So don't skip ahead, because by the end of this video, your entire perspective on low-budget real estate might change. Property number 5. At first glance, this property looks simply, but the deeper you look, the more value starts to reveal itself. Located in Victoria, Texas, this $40,000 home offers a surprisingly practical setup for its price. With 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and 720 square feet, the layout is clean, manageable, and easy to work with, whether you're planning to live in it or rent it out. But here's where it gets interesting. Backhand index pointing right, there's no HOA. That means complete freedom: renovate it, rent it, or hold it long-term without restrictions. Inside, the home features a mix of vinyl and LVP flooring, keeping maintenance low. The living room and kitchen are both generously sized for a home in this price range, especially the kitchen, which already comes functional with existing cabinetry and appliances. The bedrooms are well proportioned, making the space practical for real-world use, not just numbers on paper. On the outside, you get a solid slab foundation, public utilities, and extremely low annual taxes, just $343 per year. And since the property has been sitting on the market for over 2 months, backhand index pointing right, there may even be room to negotiate. For a low-entry investment with flexibility and minimal carrying costs, this one quietly checks a lot of boxes. Property number 4. This next property isn't for everyone, but for the right buyer, it could turn into something much bigger. Located in Lufkin, Texas, this $37,000 home is a true fixer-upper, the kind investors actively look for. Sitting on a larger lot than the previous property, it immediately opens up more possibilities: expansion, outdoor use, or long-term value growth. But here's the key detail. Backhand index pointing right, this home is basically a blank canvas. No appliances, no finished upgrades, no distractions. And while that might sound like a downside for investors, it's actually the opportunity. You're not undoing someone else's work, you're building it your way. The structure itself has stood since 1948, with wood siding, a solid foundation, and a composition roof, meaning the base is already there. Yes, it needs work. Yes, it needs planning. But that's exactly where the value is created. Add in the included storage shed, covered patio space, and public utilities, and you've got a project that can be shaped from the ground up. Backhand index pointing right, for buyers who know how to renovate strategically, this is where profit margins begin. Property number 3. Now this is where things start to get really interesting, because this property solves one of the biggest problems most fixer-uppers have. Located in Lubbock, Texas, this $35,000 home comes with something you don't usually see at this price point. Backhand index pointing right, central heating and air already installed. That alone removes one of the most expensive upgrades investors usually face. The home offers 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and sits on a fenced lot, adding both privacy and usability right away. Yes, it's still a fixer, but here's the difference. The essential systems are already in place, which means instead of spending heavily on infrastructure, you can focus on cosmetic upgrades that actually increase value. Even more interesting, backhand index pointing right, the property is priced well below its assessed value. That gap is where smart investors pay attention. And with the home sitting on the market for an extended period, there's a strong chance the seller may be open to negotiation. For anyone looking to minimize upfront system costs while still entering at a low price point, this one stands out immediately. Property number 2. This next property is completely different from everything we've seen so far, because the hard part has already been started. Located in Coleman, Texas, this $29,900 home isn't just a fixer, it's a project already in motion. Backhand index pointing right, major updates like new framing and plumbing are already done. That means you're stepping into a renovation that's already underway, skipping the most time-consuming phases. The home features 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms across 2 stories, something we haven't seen yet on this list. And the layout? open, spacious, and full of potential. The living area feels larger than expected, and the upstairs bedrooms offer surprisingly generous dimensions for a property at this price. Outside, you also get a garage and additional parking, adding practical value. But here's what really stands out. Backhand index pointing right: this property has been waiting on the market for a long time, which usually signals one thing: opportunity for the buyer who's ready to act. If you've ever wanted to step into a project halfway through, instead of starting from zero, this is exactly that kind of deal. Property number 1. And now, the property that almost doesn't make sense. At just $25,000, this is the lowest priced home on the list, but that's not even the most interesting part. Located in Coleman, Texas, this property offers 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a simple, functional layout. But the real story isn't inside the house. Backhand index pointing right: it's the land. With over 7,800 square feet, this is the largest lot in the entire lineup. And in real estate, land is where long-term value lives. But it gets even more interesting. Backhand index pointing right: there's a second property potentially available nearby, which opens the door to a multi-property strategy, something rarely seen at this price level. On top of that, the home is priced below its assessed value and comes with no HOA restrictions. And when you break it down, backhand index pointing right, the cost per square foot is incredibly low even for Texas. This isn't just a cheap property, it's a strategic entry point. For buyers who understand land value, positioning, and long-term upside, this is the kind of deal that explains why staying until the end actually pays off. These properties prove one thing: backhand index pointing right, affordable real estate still exists, but only for those who know where to look. Each of these listings offers a different kind of opportunity, whether it's a renovation project, a below-market deal, or a property with long-term land value. If any of these caught your attention, you'll find the links in the description below. Take your time, explore the details, and always do your own research before making a move. And if you want more videos like this, where we uncover deals most people never even notice, backhand index pointing right, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Because in this market, the best opportunities aren't gone, they're just hidden.